I think, finding someone who writes the language of dissertation,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not unique to you. Um, Throughout what you've sent me, there's a lot of substance here, right? Chapter two is well fleshed out, but it is frankly just a series of paragraphs that don't really flow necessarily together. So, in your writing style, your way of doing that is is um, I mean, we'll walk through some examples, but you write off, and this is not a negative,
Mm-hmm.
right? You only write a dissertation one time.
Yes, sir.
Not like we grew up in college and there's a class on how to write a dissertation.
Right.
Okay, so you write, and not unique to you. You write in a way that is sort of off the top of your head to make a transition. And again, I'm being blunt, so we can get done with this. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't my copy you sent doesn't have page numbers, but at one point in chapter two, um, you've got a header, shortage of male special education teachers in elementary education. Okay, the dissertation writing is technical, just state the facts type deal. So you start off after that with, in this section is information on the importance of some African American students being taught by African American males in the elementary schools to improve the students' academic achievement and classroom behaviors. That that's not needed, and an external reader or the committee is it's just not needed, because you're you're informing the reader of something that they don't need to be informed of. Okay, um, just just walking through some of these. Later on in chapter two, you start a paragraph with, what readers are expected to understand from this section is the shortage of minority teachers is a contributor to the achievement gap between African American and Hispanic American students and Caucasian students. So hopefully you see where I'm going. Um, in a dissertation, you're not telling the reader what they're expected to understand. So that statement has to come out. This not it's not opinion, but in a sense, it is your opinion, right? So, hey, reader, I'm telling you what you need to understand instead of just letting you understand it. So that's a transition that we don't need, and it won't be able to stay. Other places you say in summary. The so the, I don't want to. I'm not trying to beat you down. I'm just, until we can get an understanding of the flow that has to be in a chapter two. Um, we're just going to spin our wheels, and I'll keep sending it back, and knowing that I can't forward it, And quite honestly, as chair, my role ethically, I can't sit down and just go through it and edit it for you. It's just not, it's not allowable. Um,
What page is that on that
well, I don't have pages, Charles. I just printed what you sent me this morning, and there are no pages.
that's weird.
So
It's like I have pages on mine. I don't.
yeah, I literally hit the Word document that you sent me and hit print.
Well, I think you have to go. You have to actually download it or enable it. Because I just enabled mine, and when I got to it, when I pulled it up, I was looking at like, where is it? I know I put page number in it, and I have page numbers in mine.
Well, I mean, well, let's do this. We'll just start at the first page of chapter 2,
Okay,
and
that's
then
page
and then
9.
yeah, and we can stay on the same page. So, I mean, chapter 2 um, begins by telling us something that's just understood. So we don't put that in. So it starts by saying an extensive search of the literature was conducted using library databases, ProQuest, ERIC, First Search. That that's a moot. So it we can't have that in there, right? Um, so the second sentence, variables in the purpose statement, problem statement, research questions were transformed to key search terms using the thesaurus, right? All of this is not, chapter 2 is literally what you're trying to do in that whole thing is sort of tell the reader how you wrote the chapter 2. Um, which in other types of writing, I imagine reading this, Charles, to blow a little sunshine up your skirt. I bet you're killer when you're presenting PD and stuff like that with PowerPoint, right? And you've got this audience and you're telling them basically, this is how I built this is where the sources are. But for a chapter 2 in a dissertation, completely different animal, right? So on that second page, you say each of the 13 sections ends with a summary of key components designed to maintain the reader's focus on the major components in a section. That we can't have that. I mean, that's I don't even know how to. Um, that's almost like you wrote that like off the top of your head. That might be a note for yourself off to the side, if that makes sense, right? So that's almost like outline notes of how you're going to write it, but you don't put that in the actual dissertation. So you know, um, I'm not going to go every page, but I'll count these. 1, 2. Okay, well, I've counted 17 pages in, but that doesn't matter. I didn't write something on every page. Um,
I can find it if you can.
yeah, well, there's no header on here. It's where you're talking about Darling Hammond's study. Um, so all of this is really, really good. So I want to, again, the substance of your chapter 2 is well done. It's well researched. In writing, though, it has to be presented in a certain way. So you go in the writings of Darling Hammond, one of her major argument, and that's a typo, it should be arguments, is the weakness of traditional teaching program models, is these models. That sentence doesn't make sense. So the need is for someone, and I suggest, I suggest an editor. I don't have one that I'm going to suggest to you, but I suggest an editor that will go through here and literally take these things out, restructure them in a way that it flows, because the substance is there. Now, yeah, when I say that, you're probably going to have to pay somebody to do that, unless you've got a really good friend who has, recently finished the doctoral program. Certainly someone who's in it is not going to take the time, to help write yours because they're trying to write theirs.
Right.
But so let me move forward. And again, see, I'm loath because I'm pointing out all these things and you're thinking, man, he's jumping me. I'm not. But until we get this part down, we can send back and forth all day long for weeks. And we're not going to do that. So later on, and I've lost the pages, and I'll we can meet next week if you want to, and I'll run it with pages, and we can go specifics.
Okay.
So under teacher shortage and undesirable working conditions, once again, sort of your style of writing, you unneeded say, in this section is a discussion on adverse working conditions in schools and the negative impact on the teacher shortage. And then you go on to say, for example, there was a teacher dissatisfaction when teachers became victims of students. A poor work climate was created when teachers did not feel, I mean, I don't know, that there's no citation on that. That seems to be just sort of your wanting to put a little editorial in here to argue your point. So this isn't a paper where we're arguing a point. The reader understands the validity of the fact that there is a shortage of African American male teachers. So that whole paragraph has to come out, because it's not anything that doesn't have a citation on it. Shouldn't be in a chapter 2. So, moving forward later, about 5-6 pages later, under shortage of male special education teachers in elementary education, you again say, in this section is information on the importance of some African American students being taught by African American males. That's nothing there is scientific. And it ends with one of the issues, funding, is highlighted in this section. So under APA style, that whole paragraph is basically just a heading, right? So it would say something like shortage of male special education teachers, funding. And then you would just go from there straight into the studies that have spoken about funding.
So something like studies have shown.
Yes.
that funding.
or just you can have a sentence that said the literature is replete with examples of funding, blah blah blah, but then go straight into Ingersoll, Merrill, Stuckey, and Jones found that African American and Hispanic American teacher shortages were a major concern in most states. So that's it's got to be the most dry, just study after study that's grouped in sections with transition that just flows through and tells what the literature says. So 3 or 4 pages later, the bottom of this page, once again, you say what readers are expected to understand from this section. That's just inappropriate or not inappropriate. It's just out of place for a chapter 2, because you're basically, bad analogy coming, Charles.
Mhm.
It's almost like watching a TV show where they break the camera. All of a sudden the actor comes out of their role and looks at the camera and is no longer the actor, but the character, but the actual actor.
Yeah.
What you're doing here is that same concept. As the researcher, you're breaking that wall and basically trying to tell me what I should understand.
Mhm.
Right? So what readers are expected to understand is just doesn't need to be there. Okay. So, right after that, you have feminization of elementary school teaching, and you begin it perfectly. The writings of Segal and Danish discuss the feminization of teaching. That's how every paragraph should be. Segal and Danish explained that a major finding was male teachers did not want to work, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Next paragraph, currently many male teachers in the elementary schools are mostly teaching outdoor or for extracurricular activities to include physical training, martial arts, music, and swimming. And again, you've cited that. Well, actually, you don't, right? So again, an editor might look at that and say, okay, where did you get that? Is that from a study that said, or is that your opinion that many male teachers mostly teach outdoors? If you can't cite that, then it can't be in here, because it's when the external reader runs it through a site checker, it's going to show that that if you can't cite it, it would have to come out because it might be plagiarized. Not intentional plagiarization, but just accidental. I read that somewhere, it seemed to fit here, I typed it in. But it has to be cited, or else you're making either an opinion statement, which is not allowed, or you're making a statement that you need to go back. So it's possible that Segal and Danish, that's where that comes from, because above you've got Segal and Danish, and you're talking about male teachers did not want to work in private schools, and those types of things. 2 researchers' rationale was the male's attention to the news coverage on many pedophiles. So that's all right. But that next little blurb, currently many male teachers, elementary schools are mostly teaching outdoors and martial arts and swimming. It doesn't really even seem to fit there. Of why that? You're talking about something different. You move on to something different. So just trying to few pages later, um, you write. Look, when I wrote my dissertation, I struggled myself because I had a liberal arts background, a master's in divinity. I had gone to law school. Um, so the law writing and research, uh, I sort of learned in a brief or whatever. The judge could care less, the court, what I think or how I think they should interpret something. I just basically tell them the case was this and it said this and whatnot. So on that page, you fall back into, in summary, what is important for readers to understand from this section is, and then you go on to tell us what we need to understand. Okay. So those things will come out. It will not affect the overall chapter 2. They just can't be in there.
Yes, sir.
So I just really think you talk about finding an editor who will go through and tighten this up, put it in APA style for you, because that's the hardest part. It's like learning a new language, right? Couple pages next, again, in summary, what is important for readers to gain from reading this section, and then you tell us, right? So those things would necessarily come out. A good editor is going to do that for you. They're going to flip this around. It's going to be tight. Um, and then they'll do chapters 1 and 3. It's tight, and then all you have to worry about at that point is us making sure. I'll get with either Dr. Yamakowski or Dr. Benton and make sure, double check that our research questions in chapter 1 and our methodology in chapter 3 is going to produce the data that you're going to need to write up chapter 4, because you're going to have to, and you mentioned in chapter 3 that you're going to triangulate, and you have to do that always. What you can't triangulate if you only have 2 sets of data.
Right.
Right. um so that's the not even bad news. That's just the blunt news. The good news is, um the work is there. The work is there, but until we get that edited, um I can't, we can't move forward. We just can't move forward. So if you feel like you've got the wherewithal to step so far outside of your writing style to go back and do that, then that's great. Some ways to help you do that would be to go to Sanford or wherever and pull some actual dissertations, turn to chapter 2 and just start reading it and realizing I'm a visual learner, and you look at it and you start thinking, okay, I get this now. It almost is easier on me. There's no editorial, there's no summarizing sections, there's no telling what the reader should. It's just straight studies that lay out all the aspects around this this topic, which is African American male teacher shortage in the elementary setting. Um, and I would point back even to your title. I think we had talked about, you need, it would be best to insert, um, either African American or Black, whichever your terminology, but the study, it says phenomenological exploration of barriers and potential solutions to the African American male elementary teacher shortage, because that's really what your study's about. The way that the title reads, then it would be any race of a male elementary teacher, whether it's white or Asian or whatever. So just little things like that. Um, but I guess before Christmas, when I said that's what's holding it back, is until it is the substance is here,
Mhm.
until it's rewritten in proper dissertation language and format, then we're at an impasse. Um, because our new dean, now wonderful person, she does all the external reading for these. If I send this to her, she will quite honestly rebuke me and tell me, why did you put me in, this is not in a format that I can read it externally and move it forward, because it's got to be written in that certain language.
Dr. Yakamashi is still the dean, right?
No, she's never been the dean. She's the director of the doctoral program. Um, yeah, the way universities are structured, each program. So she's director of the doctoral program. Then we have a chair of our entire department. That seat's currently open, and the dean, Anna McEwen, is serving in that role. She's also the dean of the entire school, elementary education, family services, all of our different departments. But as chair of the department, she everything's going through her, and she's a nice person, but she's a stickler. And that happened to me. Uh, Actually, my fault. I sent her for review a few months back and sent the wrong copy. And in no uncertain terms, you know, uh, she let me know about it. And thank goodness I was able to say, okay, that was just a clerical error. Here's the actual copy that I meant to send. Um, so that's what we've got to do. And in some ways, maybe that should be freeing on you. Of my chair, Ennis, is telling me that the work is here. It's just got to be transformed, grammatically and literarily, in a different style of writing. And if it's not APA when I send it, she's going to send it back. So we're just in the same boat. Is all I'm telling. It's not me. I'm just don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying. I know that she's not going to review it. We're not going to move forward. And I can send it every 2 weeks, and it'll come back. And every 2 weeks, it'll come back until we can get this done. So I see that as good news, um, for you, but it still has to be done. So I don't have an editor that I can recommend, because the ones that I knew are retired and they don't do it anymore. Um, but many of my many of the other committees that I chair, I would say most all of them have editors. Uh, the problem with that is they might be a committee of two or a committee of three, and it's cheaper. They can pull their funds and send it off to somebody, and that somebody can many times even help with methodology and those types of things. So, I don't know what other you that that are still going through their dissertation. Maybe drop them a note and just say, hey, do you have an editor? Have you been using an editor? I probably need to send this to one and have them look at it and clean it for me.
Okay.
Or you can do it yourself. I'm not saying, please don't mishear me. I'm not saying you have to hire an editor. What I'm saying is it's got to be edited.
Yes, sir.
However that happens, it's got to be edited. And so so I'm not going to make a comment on my copy because I'm gonna download it like you told me to and see if that makes a difference. But for instance, if you look on this page, if you see it, there's lines across here.
On what? I can't see you at all. You're not on video, right?
Also, cut it off.
It just says less in it.
I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry. Here I am.
Oh, there.
Um,
So if I share my screen with you, if I share my screen with you, will we be able to look at the hold on one second, my hold on. Students are able to bring their phone, they can't use their phone. They tell them to put it up. And who was the speaker? They know they had his phone. I think the students are allowed to have their phones, they just have to put their backpack on off. And not use it. So
he was sick of them butchers looking down, asking for even okay, looked like he was talking to some type of
this let me see,
he was miskeeping.
yeah. And then tell her, let her know she needs to contact. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was saying I think I could possibly share. Let me see.
if that'll help, yeah.
Let's see. I don't know. Post. Are you able to see this word?
I just see a blank screen, a white blank screen. Something just tried to pop up.
Okay, you should be able to see this, so you're not able to see it.
No,
Okay, let me stop sharing and let me see what I need to do.
well, I can see it now, but your let me see if I can reduce your screen. It's no, all I see is you, and behind it is my actual Zoom login. I thought it was the document.
Okay, I'm trying to see where.
You fill up my whole screen with just you.
What about now?
Here it is. I can see it now. Yeah.
Okay, so you see, I have numbers. So start with chapter 1. I mean, you see that page 1?
I do. I didn't doubt you. Um,
But
okay.
chapter 1
That
is
makes me feel a lot better because the way that this printed off, um, so we're good there. Go to chapter 2.
Okay.
Okay. So you'll see then some of the things that I was talking about. So you open with an extensive search of the literature was conducted. The open should be you cut and paste. Should be maybe from chapter 1's introduction. Okay.
Mhm.
The second paragraph right there, overview, should it's okay in your own document to cut and paste the same thing in different chapters. That again is a quirk of a dissertation. If you were writing any other type of paper, right? If you've written something, you don't go back and just cut and paste it at the end of the document. Well, you've already said that. But in a dissertation, each chapter stands alone. So I would take that out, and your second paragraph in chapter 1 starts off with increasingly concerns have arisen regarding the shortages of minority teachers, especially African American male teachers in elementary school classrooms. Boom. You don't have to tell me, right, what I should realize. I just read it and you got it cited. So I'm realizing, okay, this study is telling me there are concerns about shortages. That's what the whole thing's about. These concerns are present when dealing with the issues of racial and ethnic diversity. That's a Benner, Krosno, and Eccles. Your entire chapter 2 should read and flow just like that. That second paragraph of chapter 1, the entire chapter 2 should flow like that. No other editorializing. No more. No. In summary, no. I got this from reading on ProQuest or what. I'm making that up, right?
Mhm.
The whole chapter 2 should be nothing but blocks of statements from studies building the literature of why and how this is important. And you've already done that. There's a lot in chapter 2, but it has to be written differently. It has to be written exactly like your second paragraph of chapter 1. So go back to the first page of chapter 1.
Chapter 1 or 2?
1.
Okay.
Okay. So if you switch, just simply cut, drop down, and repaste those 2 paragraphs so that your paper starts with increasingly concerns have arisen regarding the shortages. That's going to follow with that second paragraph that was the first now, regarding concerns for the shortage of male American teachers in their writings. Milner and Paimon indicated Africa. So you're building, fleshing out this case, right?
Mhm.
So then you get to the problem statement, which is just a few clicks down. Research indicates the shortage of African American male teachers is caused by economic and education factors. Charles, that's perfect writing. That's how chapter 2 has to be written. You've already done it. You know how to do it, right?
Mhm.
So your style, this is dissertation style. Your chapter 2 is more Charles style or less style, right?
Yes.
I can't help but expound a little bit on it.
Right.
But you can expound a little bit on it. If your entire chapter 2 flows like your first page, right? You've got and you're not repeating, you're using different studies, different researchers, all to build the case, right?
Hmm.
Problem statement, research indicates, and then you tell us what it indicates. Ladson Billings found, perfect way to enter, that there is a positive relationship between passing grades. Next paragraph, diversity in the elementary schools may enhance the learning milieu for African American male students by giving a voice to all. Darling Hammond. That's perfect. Right? So when I sat down and wrote what I sent you, chapter 1, I'm sure a lot of that was I didn't write this. I probably just marked through a bunch of stuff that you had
Hmm.
that was out of place. You deleted it, and you see how clean that reads now. That is an academic study. It's just clean. You're just telling us what academics and researchers have found. And you're building towards, right? My understanding as a reader of the issue, the problem statement, what others have found. And then you're going to do your study, right? Based on your research questions to add to all of this. So this is what others have said. There's a concern, there's a shortage, especially African American male teachers. Um, it Carver Thompson and Darling Hammond said that it's caused by economic and education factors. So your study, your research questions, your study is you want to look at the perceptions of a selected group of African American male educators to determine the factors that cause them to enter the field.
Right.
And you're going to interview them and you're going to get that data. And then that's your chapter 4. You're going to write up, participant A said that he went into education primarily because and he also felt that he would be helping, or whatever they say. It doesn't matter. To you as the researcher, it doesn't matter what they say. You're just reporting it.
Right.
Make sense?
Yes, sir.
And then you're, based on all of this other stuff that you've told us, you're in chapter 5 then going to tell us your interpretation, right, of what these subjects in your study did or felt. Their what phenomenon went into them entering and maybe dissatisfaction or them leaving. So your pattern is right there on the first page. Again, switch paragraphs 1 and 2 in the very first part of your paper. And I would then cut and paste that to start your chapter 2. And I would follow then by going through, and I still recommend an editor because you're gonna, we got to do APA,
Right.
but then follow through with that. And everywhere there's an in summary or the reader should understand or any of that, just take it out. Restructure the sentence so that it basically, while it does, convey things like concerns have arisen, research indicates, last in billings found.
Gotcha.
Diversity in elementary schools may enhance. Focus on the problem is scarcity of male elementary teachers. National current studies showed support for the problem statement because Howard contended it, right?
Yes.
We get that done, and then I'll send it to your committee with a quick turnaround, and then we'll go.
Okay. Well, I will,
And it's like eating an elephant, Charles. It's one small bite at a time now. And we've
yes.
gone through a lot of crap. So, maybe this is something, to help give you something to focus on and get all that other stuff off your mind for a short while.
Yes. This has been on my mind, and that has been on my mind, and this, I guess, it's just, the sitting down.
Yeah. And there may not be anything you can do about the other two,
Yeah.
but you can do something about this one.
That's
And
true.
you can get satisfaction from it, right? That it, like you said, I'm making progress here. So, do that. Get it back to me. If you want to meet once every week, 2 weeks,
Yeah, I think we need to, just to keep me on,
and I'd be happy to do that. But understand too, we're just spinning our wheels if we meet next time, and
right.
you still need. But before you get that chapter 2 edited out, and then chapter 3's got a lot of the same type wording.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to go back and look, look at that, and make it scientific. And then APA style, we got to do it. Whether you hire somebody that's an APA expert, there is software out there. I don't know how good it is, to be honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
but some of your other people you were in cohort with, you may contact them and ask them, hey, what were some aids that y'all used or found helpful? So, and yeah, you feel behind, but you're not alone. There are many people still from your cohort that are writing, and there are several that aren't as far along as you are. This is an easy fix. If you find an expert or you clean it up, it's easy fix. Whole lot different than if I came back and said chapter 2 is garbage, Charles. We can't use any of it. You're gonna have to start over.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I'm saying at all. And I'm relieved at my stupidity right? And that's why communication like this, of looking at this and thinking, okay, that's the way it's formatted.
Yeah.
I didn't know any better. I just, I hit print, and I've never had it do this, but I've got a different computer, and so
Yeah, when you go to when it comes off the email, you have to click on download, and then it'll download, and then click on it, and then at the top there's a little square that says enable, and then it formulates like it's supposed to be.
okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think we're at a good stopping point of we know what needs to be done going forward.
Yes, sir. And I'll seek out
In contact, but the best thing to do, don't try to reinvent the wheel. I mean, reach out to some of these other folks. Many of them from your cohort are still writing. Um, so you know, and maybe just ask them, are you guys using an editor? Um, do you know Teresa King?
no, I don't think so.
Okay. Um, I'll try to get you her email, but I don't know. She's using an editor, the one that retired, and I had heard was not taking on any new. She's moved to the beach and not taking on any new people.
Mhm.
Um, but that's just an example of there are people out there that do this, and it's money. It's
Yeah,
money, but it's money well spent if it means you jump from square one to square 10 and everything's clean, and now you're really moving forward. So,
yes, sir.
and there's peace of mind that'll come from that in the midst of all. So, all right,
Well, I appreciate it.
get in touch.
I will stop sharing, and um I think I did everything right, if I'm not mistaken. All right, well, I appreciate it, and I will be in contact with you as soon as I get it edited and cleaned up to the point where it looks more more scientific.
Your chapter one is the example of what it needs to look like.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
All right,
Yes, sir. I
take
appreciate
care,
it.
my man.
You too. Thank you.
All right.